we are currently live at the Sarovar Pan-Africa, where the PSASB is launching its strategic plan for the next 5 years. That is 2021, 2022 to 2025, 2026. Currently we have with us Mr. Frederick, who is the CEO of the PSASB. Now, they've said that in the previous strategic launch, they had accrued, or rather, they had achieved 85% success rate. Mr. Frederick, if you could just tell us why 85% and not 100%? What were the challenges that you faced?
Thank you very much for having me on KBC. The 2014, 2015, 2020, 2021 strategic plan went well with an 84% attainment rate. That is a fair attempt. But as you always anticipate, there could be variation in terms of the capacity coming in to ensure that the strategies are implemented well. That was the inception strategy. So there was the learning to be undertaken by the new team. Point number two, it was the very year that we were getting to report. It was on the basis of that strategy that we're reporting on the basis of international financial reporting standards. So there were learning lessons as well from the board's point of view, and at the same time from the reporting entities' point of view. We spent a lot of our time trying to capacity build the reporting accountants on the structure and the flow of information under the new reporting framework. And as that then cost us a bit of time and did not then make it possible for us to attain 100% success rate in terms of implementation of that strategy. Point number two, financial resources it was a limiting factor. The board came within the point, within a time frame when the global economic activity wasn't as good. So revenue performance was not as good nationally, and hence that also contributed to a bit of slack in terms of attainment of the strategies that we had set out in that strategic plan.
Now, you've spoken about taking up an accrual accounting method or strategy in comparison to a cash accounting system. What are some of the challenges that you could find, considering that you want to take it up by July 1st, 2023? Is that a bit too ambitious?
The board has taken the decision to transit the remaining pockets of public sector from cash accounting to accrual accounting. We are moving to the next phase of engaging the National Treasury as the chief implementer of the standards issued by the board on how best we can fast track the process of that adoption. Pre-1st July 2023, we have preparatory steps that we are taking that will contribute into the kick-off of the July 1st, 2023. Firstly, we are engaged in terms of establishing a stockpile of the assets and liabilities, and that has been enabled through the approval and adoption of a national assets and liabilities management policy. So from a global perspective, we are then saying that the entire public sector is then engaged in a process of identifying, valuing and recording their assets in readiness for the July 1st. Point number two, we are at the phase of capacity building. So the board and the National Treasury is engaged on a robust capacity building drive so that once then the effective date kicks in, then we would have the critical mass to drive this reform agenda to some level of success. Point number three, the enabling system, IFMIS, is under review as we speak. And discussions are at a fairly advanced stage at the National Treasury just to ensure that the enabling system, the bedrock system on which to anchor accrual accounting is brought to a level where then it can support the transition project. I guess with those, once we ready those, then there are also, finally, there are aspects of change management. The attitudinal challenges, we have initiated processes just to ensure that there is a general shift of mindset across the economy, from policymakers to implementers of policy, so that as and when we then go live, then everybody will be the same. I think with those critical steps, we see a brighter path to implementing the accrual project to some level of success. It has been demonstrated globally that nations have taken much longer. The developed world, if you do the literature review, there are some, New Zealand, it took them close to 10 years to perfect accrual accounting. The UK took them about 7 years. So it's a journey. We do not expect it to roll out in a perfect mode come 1st of July, should that decision be firmed up. But we are saying that we will be making steps critical to ensuring that ultimately, after the 3 years transition period, then we're presenting perfectly accrual accounting, accrual IPSAS compliant sets of financial statements. That will facilitate consolidation at some point in time.
Now, finally, just to wrap it up, you've spoken about, or rather the chairman had mentioned that after every year, PSABS will be checking in to see if the accounting methods are being taken up, if the strategy is being taken up very well. Is this new strategy going to help in the adoption of accrual accounting? It will, and we have done it in the past. We undertook annual assessment of the level of adoption of the reporting templates and the standards as issued by the board. We are seeking to strengthen that. We are seeking to create functions within the board whose jobs would be purely to look out and sit with the reporting entities and take them through. We do not want to wait for an annual event. We are looking at a continuous engagement with our reporting entities to support them where needs have been identified, so that we then adopt this continuous improvement style of enforcing the standards. But ultimately, that does not mean we run away from the traditional fire awards that we join hands with other fire promoters as a means of now formalizing the whole process of checking for compliance and recognizing the best winners. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Frederick, for engaging us here on this check. As you have heard, O'Brien, he has spoken about public service entities taking up accrual accounting systems from the 1st of July. Of course, the transition is going to be in phases, and within 3 years, we might have public service entities doing accrual accounting systems. Now, this might help in changing the situation, where we have seen a lot of auditing gaps, especially in public service entities. Thank you so much, and back to you in studio, Brian.